Hey everyone, I'm Nick.
I'm Vic.
And we're Envy Board Gaming. Today we're taking a look at Adventureland. It's a 2 to 4 player game published by Haba, designed by Wolfgang Kramer and Michael Kiesling. Vic's going to tell us how to play. We'll be back with our thoughts and review.
All right, we are set up here for a 2-player game of Adventureland. I've already removed 8 meeples, companions, and 8 swords in a 2-player game. Those are removed and you play with the balance of the supply, randomly kind of sorted or shuffled together. And you start the game by drawing some cards to arrange where your starting stuff is. Like the gold and the monster, they all come out at random because this deck is shuffled here. And in the 2-player game, you are going to be trying to achieve whatever your adventure card says here. This one in Adventure 1, the aim is to fight these fog creatures here, these guys. And you want to collect gold, which is always like pretty much around the river here. And you want to have as many of these silver meeples, companions, with you as possible. And at the end, you're going to score points as you play in this adventure, but there are different adventures where you actually don't score everything immediately. They have different criteria, but this one you're scoring everything as you go, so the final scoring is pretty simple because all the victory points are already put together. So that's that. So in this game, what are you doing? You're drawing cards. You draw 2 to start your turn, so I'm going to draw 2 cards here. And it's going to determine where I place these. So I have herbs here. I'm going to put it at A2, face down, so you don't know actually what the value is of it. And then I draw another card. I got G9 there, so I put a monster out at G9. And that's face up, because you always know what you're dealing with in terms of you're trying to fight those. So what do you do to fight them? Well, you're going to move your character that's your color, your meeple, down or across to the right. You can never go back with your meeple. So the whole strategy of the game is that you're going to be going, you don't want to go too far down or too far to the right because you can never go back and things are going to start coming out. As you saw, you're drawing a couple cards. Because I drew a monster, actually I would draw another one of these in place of gold. Anytime you get a monster, you get one more thing that you draw. So there would be an E9 here with a gold, and this sprite, or spirit, we think it's sprite, goes over here to E9, and any time that this guy moves along the river and you're in his path, his or her, its path, you actually lose your meeple, and they're removed from the game. So you certainly don't want to be greedy and hanging out by the river with gold like I tend to do, and lose your person, because at the end of the game you want to have those companions or those people available to you during the game to fight monsters. So like I said, you go down or across. You can move the same meeple twice if you want, but you're only making 2 moves. So in this case, if I was going here, I would move this guy down here to A2. I would take this herb, and herbs just add to your fighting power. I'll explain that in a moment, but I would take this. It's a 4 value. That's pretty high. That's good. And then I could choose to move across or move another person down. Perhaps I would move this person down to the companion, where I would immediately score 1 point because that's my first companion. If I already had a silver companion in my group, I would add an extra point to that. So I'd get 2 points there. And they kind of stack up, and you'll just move your cube along the track along this side of the board. If I were fighting, if I had ended up at this 14 spot here, I'm trying to achieve, in this case for this adventure, I want to get 14 value hits on the monster. So because I'm trying to do that, I actually have to have a sword in order to roll a dice. So as many swords as I wager is as many dice as I get to roll. So if we play pretend and imagine that I had collected these 2 swords here through the game, I would get to roll 2 dice if I spend these, and the 2 value that's on this sword is actually added to my dice result. So the 2 dice, I would pick those up, I would roll. I'm trying to go for 14 there. I roll, wow, it's a 9. I have a 2 already value, so that is 11. And lucky for me, I picked up this 4 herb. So because of that, I'm able to kill this monster because I have a 15. But if I if I didn't, I would have lost. And I believe you lose that meatball. If you do lose you lose your companion during battle. Anyways, so in that case, I would take that. I would immediately score the 7 points, move it along the track here. And that would be added to my area of my game. And players would take turns. So when the green meeple goes, we draw 2 cards, like so, and we place a sword out at I2, as it says, face down. And then we take the next one. Oh, B9. All right, so an herb goes there. And players will just take turns until either when all the swords and all of the companions are depleted from the supply. If you run out of the companions before you run out of the swords, you can tap into the game supply, the extras that you put aside, and then vice versa with the swords. But yeah, once those are done, you will look at who has the most points, and then that's it. Because of this adventure, you've already accrued all the points throughout the game, so the final scoring doesn't even need to be really calculated because you already know at the end wherever your cube lies on the scoring track. And that's how you play Adventureland.
All right, let's get to our review of Adventureland. So I give out awards occasionally, if you don't notice. I've given out an award for the most deceiving box artwork. This time it's the worst box artwork. This is the worst box artwork I own. And it's a clear winner. I mean, congratulations, Adventureland. Worst box art I've seen. How lame does that look to you, Vic? On a scale of 1 to 10, what would you say?
I loved it.
Okay, so 10? You're going to say 10
I like the little fog monster lurking in the background, the palace.
So you like this box artwork? You like this? What's going on here?
Love it.
So what's your rating on the box artwork?
No, I see what he's saying. I would give it a 6. That's
okay.
Nice.
The art, I guess, isn't bad, like the castles and the background. These people, though, just go away. There's just, they have annoying faces to me. Like, very punchable. This guy is very punchable. This guy's quite punchable. These two are very neutral.
Don't punch the girl.
I'm not punching the girl.
Good.
Or the guy leaning down, hiding. He looks fairly normal. But the other two, very punchable. Possibly from 80s bands. That guy looks like he's from Journey.
Yeah, I can see that.
So
definitely.
Anyway, back to we're doing a review.
Yeah.
The game, it looks dry on the board, but I like the components. I think the chunky meeples are good.
I love a chunky meatball.
That's good. The Sprite, they call him the Sprite. We don't know if he's Spirit or Sprite, but the rule book says Sprite, and it says it all over, so he's Sprite. And I like Sprite. I like lemon lime drinks. So, very cool. So, good components for what you're expecting.
Yeah, I like the feel of them.
The tiles are poor. These are poor quality tiles. I don't like that. The dice, good. Chunky dice. Nothing wrong with the die here. I like the charcoal gray. I'm a big fan of charcoal gray.
Yeah.
So, like that. I love the scenarios.
Yeah, that's a cool idea to have the adventures be, this now you're going to score all your victory points as you go. And then there was one that said you're adding them up at the end. And we haven't looked through them all. But it is interesting how you have different objectives or different things that are going to score differently. Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah, it is. It adds the gameplay. It's the replayability for sure. We played scenario 1. We read through the other 2 scenarios. Like, okay, we get how they play, and we know how they play now. And it just it doesn't look like I'm gonna enjoy this game, but I'm gonna tell you right now, I did. It's an 8-2. I was surprised, pleasantly surprised playing this game. Like, when I set it up and got the rules, I'm like, this might be a little too light, a little too, whatever, throwaway game.
We're heavy gamers.
Right.
They like our heavy games.
But the game just works. It's undeniable. The game just works. And it takes you by surprise. Like, okay, this game that didn't look like much actually plays very well.
Yeah, like to me, I was just blown away by some of the things like the combat function. Wow, like that's interesting. So you're playing swords to determine how many dice you get, kind of pushing, you're gambling a bit on that. And then there's the river rat, when I was being a river rat and hanging out by the water, and twice the Sprite got me.
That's fun.
And Nick said it was the best day of his life.
Yep. That was number 1, marriage number 2. It makes you cheer against your opponent. Like, get that Sprite, get him.
Yeah, so I really like the game too, and I love the quality of the meeples. And you're right, though, deceiving, because when he was first explaining it to me, I'm like, so we just move down and across?
If we just draw these and whatever happens, happens?
Yeah.
These just come out?
I was thinking, oh, that sounds fun. And then we played, and it was a lot of fun. So my score for it, 7.9. Which is a good high score. It's a good score. It's not a bad score. Don't be deceived by that 7. I was actually going to add a half, but I didn't know how he would feel.
7.95.
9.5, yeah.
Just didn't want to give it that 8.
I don't know. I feel like I throw 8s around. If you in this channel, I'm always 8. So I had to take it easy and just kind of take a step back. But there's nothing that I find displeasing about the game. And do you think there's something that could be improved?
I mean, you could add more to it, but it's a
Yeah.
Haba game, so that's why it even boosts more. Haba makes children's games. They're known for children's games, and this is not a children's game. This is a really good family game, though. I really like this. It plays with 4, and I'm glowing over it just compared to what I thought it would be. I mean,
and I think it was pretty easy to teach. Like, the box says 10 to 99, so 100-year-olds probably couldn't grasp it.
No.
But age 10, I think that's a fair age range for this. I think even an 8-year-old might be able to.
I think so, too.
Because you're rolling dice, it's not that complicated. The combat isn't complicated. It says very clearly with the fog monster how much you have to achieve to beat them.
You can teach a little math.
Yeah. And it's not like a complicated or a surprise. Like, you're not being surprised by a monster and like you didn't know, you weren't prepared. And there's different ways. The fact that you can move the same meeple twice, one meeple at a time, down or across. I like that. I like that you can try. Like, I'm very bold. I end up at the bottom of the board pretty quick. I'm stunning and brave. And so I end up down there, and I don't really fight anybody, but he always say, "What are you doing?" Right? But I go for stuff sometimes, and it's just fun to try different ways to play the game.
He's a bottom feeder. Little rat over there swooping up everything at the very bottom row.
Yeah, bottom feeder for sure.
Yep.
But it's a lot of fun, this game, and it will take you by surprise. No real complaints about it. I mean, I just don't need to have a heavy game all the time that we're playing where it's complicated. I don't mind having this that just gives my brain a break.
Kind of. I mean, it's more than...
I have to think. There's some thinking.
Yeah, just know that going into it, it's not a heavy game, and it's just a fun game.
Yeah, we really enjoyed it. So I would say we both suggest picking it up, add it to your collection, and we hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, go ahead, give it a thumbs up, and subscribe to our channel for more awesome game reviews. We will see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.